Good afternoon, everybody. This is Flight Instructor David Duvack, contract pilot, ferry pilot, charter pilot, with you with a new video today on how to get an appropriate weather briefing via the new school method of electronic flight application. We're going to reference Preflight today. It's a common application pilots use. And we're going to rehash the old school method that's getting a flight weather briefing, an aviation weather briefing over the phone. And the purpose of it is to rehash the old school method in addition to utilizing the new school method and hashing out what you're looking for exactly in each briefing as far as the weather, NOTAMs, temporary flight restrictions, things of that nature. And I apologize, it's been a minute since we made a video, a lot going on. Had a very busy year at the Robins Airport instructing, and now I'm moving back into the 135 industry for a company that has a twin Cessna 310R locally here in the Northeast, doing the same thing I used to do in Indiana 3 years ago. And I'm still teaching independently on the side. I have access to a 172 at the Mercer County Airport and working with variable owners on variable things independently. For more information, you can find me on Instagram, my full name, David Duvack, D-A-V-A-D, D-U-V-A-K, and Facebook, my full name, David Duvack. And I have a professional page, CFI, ferry pilot, contract pilot, David Duvack. So any one of those 3 pages, you will find me. And hope you liked the video. Hit the smash button if you want more notifications on things, and stay tuned for this video. Alright, so first off, we're going to start off planning a flight today from my home base airport, Robins, New Jersey, as you see in November 87. And we're going to go to a favorite lunch spot of mine over in Reading, Pennsylvania, Kilo Romeo Delta Golf. We have a fantastic restaurant on site. There's a bunch of other places I fly to. They have excellent places to eat. But for illustration's sake today, we're planning a flight from here to there. So first what you do is you go to the search pane, type in your departure point, destination. And then for additional planning items, there's the immediate stuff, direction, distance, fly, all that good stuff. And you want to select this paper file icon right here at the top left corner. That's going to give you, excuse me one sec, that's going to give you all of your weather related items and NOTAMs related items. What we're looking for is not just information for the route, but what we're looking for is big picture weather, small picture stuff. That could be whatever, a scattered rain shower en route, or something that is over the destination or departure point that could blow away within minutes, or maybe not blow away within minutes. Temporary flight restrictions, adverse weather conditions, which I'm kind of going on to the big picture stuff now, but big picture stuff, you're looking for, again, TFRs, huge weather systems that could be a threat for light aircraft or all aircraft. Area aviation advisories, airmets and sigmets, NOTAMs, that's notices to airmen. Those are special watch it notes for pilots. So in this planning icon here, you have all kinds of cool features. As you can see, I have the radar composite feature turned on. That just shows whether or not I have any areas of precipitation, which there's plenty today, being it's a dreary day here in New Jersey. It's almost Halloween of 2021, and it's kind of a lousy day to fly, as you can see in certain areas for light aircraft. Very windy, as you'll see here in a second. And some places have heavy amounts of precipitation. And what I'm going to do, because I fly under instrument flight rules a lot, I'm going to turn on the icing feature. Look for any areas possible that are possibly producing a freezing level. Okay, and we'll go back to the paper icon, reinstate the radar, because I want to see the big picture as far as precip and things like that. Now, as you see, I have the AirMat feature, traffic feature, TFR feature booted on. That's very important. That's king, because TFRs determines how we're going to go about our operations, whether or not we're departing from an area that's in the prohibited area, and if that's the case, we can't fly at all, because the prohibited area of a TFR is usually a 10-mile radius. Some cases, some TFRs you can't fly in at all. Typically, with temporary flight restrictions, there's a procedure in play if you're departing an area that's not in the 10-mile no-fly zone. Most of the time, my departure point is in the 10 to 20 mile fly zone where you have to get a flight plan, get a clearance from the appropriate ATC facility, and squawk that squawk code. Once you turn the motor, get going, call ATC again in the air. Now, I have a feature for traffic, so not every version of ForeFlight has this. Mine does. I have the $300 version. Bear in mind with the traffic feature, once you get in the airplane and get going, you will lose the traffic feature if you don't have a Stratus, which is a portable GPS device that I don't have on me, but I will make a separate video on that someday. You will not get traffic without the Stratus, so keep that in mind when you have the traffic feature enabled when you're flying. So then I like to enable the flight category feature, and as you can see, there's all these dots. Blue means marginal VFR. That's conditions where your ceiling visibility is not 5,000 feet and 5 miles visibility. It's less than that. It's variable from any conditions less than that. If you have green dots, it's conditions pertinent for visual flight rules. If you have pink or red, which you'll see in some areas here today, down in the southern states, there's a lot of red because there's this heavy precip here. There's areas of instrument flight conditions, which are not necessarily showstoppers, at least not for me, because I'm used to flying in instrument flight conditions. Pink can be a showstopper. You don't see any pink right now, but you might later. Pink means the sky conditions or low-level IFR, meaning that the visibility and sky conditions are anywhere from less than 500 feet to half-mile visibility or worse. That's definitely a showstopper for us light aircraft flyers because we're not in a category to produce flight safely in that kind of conditions. So coming back to the planning icon here, that paper stack is, as I've said before, I have the AirMet SigMet feature turned on, in addition to TFR's traffic. Coming down to the AirMet SigMet feature, I boot on things that are pertinent for the flight for this time of the year. So I want to boot up AirMets for ice, and you'll see areas of blue fire up here. That means there's AirMets for icing in this particular region. Turbulence low because I don't, my Cessna 310 and 172 doesn't fly that high, so turbulence low because I want to have an idea what kind of ride I'm going to expect. And IFR because I expect certain parts of the region today to be IFR because that time of the year we're going from summer to fall and the weather can be kind of unpredictable at times here in the Northeast. So if I want specifics on what I enabled here on the AirMet SigMet feature, for example, turbulence, I click on it. And there's advisory for low-level wind shear, so that tells me from this time frame and that time frame, the ride may not be pleasant. So if I plan to bring a non-pilot customer, I may advise them of that, or I will advise them of that. So I expect they know what they're getting into if they were to choose to hire me for a flight today. And plane turbulence surface to 15,000 feet in effect from 11 a.m. To about 2 o'clock today. So we can suspend that by hitting the close button. As far as the icing AirMets, I click on that. And at 10,000, it's a flight level 240. So thankfully I don't fly that high unless I'm flying a PC-12 or something, which is equipped for that kind of stuff. That's not a factor for me, but I still want to keep a good lookout because depending on where I might be going, there's a lot of heavy rain, which can eventually lead conditions for structural ice up at altitude. So, and then again, rehashing the planning icon here, I call it the stack of paper icon. For additional information I may want to know, such as PIL reports, PIREPs, you enable that, you'll see a bunch here. There's one over Philly International, which is south of my route, but we'll look at it anyway. It was produced by, and it gives you the call sign Blue Streak. It was PSA Airlines, and they talked about what they encountered there, and looks like it was okay, pretty recent. So that's a fairly recent PIL report, updated by that user, and usually they'll notify air traffic control of whatever it was experienced, or somebody's called flight service to issue that report. So getting back to route of flight, looked at big picture, small picture, There's no temporary flight restrictions. There's a lot of air mats I have to be mindful of if I fly this flight today. The one that can be a slight problem for me if I were to take something light as a Cessna Skyhawk or a Piper Cherokee is the advisory for low-level wind shear. The ride may be very unpleasant and not necessarily borderline unsafe, but very unpleasant and high workload which eventually could be problematic for today's mission. So coming down to each airport individually, you click on it with your finger, for example, Robbinsville, and then you select the current conditions. Now, Robbinsville does not report weather itself, so we have Mercer County next door. Basically, almost a clear visual day, just kind of a strong east wind, 21 knots. And then we look at the forecast, and it has it broken down for you here in plain English. And throughout the day, it's supposed to get worse. Reduced ceilings, higher winds, so not necessarily the best of days for flying, depending on what you're capable of and what you're ready to do. So by 6 p.m., well, here we go. The winds get pretty nasty. I wouldn't fly a Skyhawk in that, but something that can handle it, maybe. And then overnight, it gets even worse. Moderate rain showers, stronger winds. So not necessarily the best of day to fly today, but just so you can see for example's sake. Then coming over, before I go to Reading, let me go back to Robs one more time. NOTAM. As I said, NOTAM stands for Notices the Airman. It's a special watch it item for us pilots. Not necessarily by any means a showstopper. It just means, hey, there's a lit tower close to the airport that's broken. We want to tell you about that. Or a nav aid is broken. We want to tell you about that. So we look at airport NOTAMs, and as you can see, there's notes for some of the approaches into Robbinsville. So I don't intend to fly today, but if I was, I would consult these. And there's a structural airport NOTAM where the wind indicator is out of service, which fortunately they have wind socks, which count as a wind indicator. Obstacle NOTAMs, again, this is where you find out about towers and stuff being not lit. And then TFR ARTC is your airspace NOTAMs, which this is the most important one. If you don't see TFRs on the map for ForeFlight, we'll talk about it in here. And before I move on, let me show you what an actual TFR in ForeFlight looks like. Let's come down to Washington, D.C. And I'm going to suspend the satellite or the radar so you can see, and we'll take out all these airmets and SIGMETs here. So that's what a temporary flight restriction will look like. That's in reference to the Washington, D.C. Special Flight Rules area. It's permanently there because our nation's capital is there. There's major airports close to it where the rules vary from normal airspace, such as us at Trenton Robbinsville. So getting back to our planned flight today, Robbinsville to Reading Airport, we'll re-engage everything I disassembled, and then we'll turn the radar back on. Now coming over to Reading, Pennsylvania, we're going to look at the current weather. So right now it's fairly marginal but flyable. I would say don't land a wind like that unless your skills, you're comfortable with it, and the runway you're using is perpendicular, which conveniently they do have runways perpendicular to that direction. So pretty strong windy day. And then if for whatever reason you couldn't get weather at your destination, you have plenty of places close by. Again, not the best of day for flying, but wind-wise, but certainly healthy for instrument flight in a light single. Then the actual forecast right here. And throughout the day, it's actually getting worse. By 2 o'clock, out that way they're calling for stronger winds and showers. So again, not the nicest day, but for example's sake, I just want to show you how to get weather and things like that from here. So checking NOTAMs. There is none airport NOTAMs at the moment. Again, back up with a call to flight service, which I'm going to do in a second. Obstacle NOTAMs, none published. Again, back up with a call to flight service. ForeFlight and all electronic apps are not always spot on with NOTAMs. So TFR, ARTCs, again, consult these carefully when you're going somewhere. there may be a proposed TFR not publicized on the map version that maybe talked about in here or something like that. So, and now for the what I call the nitty-gritty planning information. We come back to the airport. We want to hit the info page. The info page just has all your frequencies: approach, ground, tower, if the facility has one. In the case of Robbinsville, we don't have a control tower. We just have common traffic advisory frequency, and it'll tell you who to call for your clearance if you were leaving under instrument flight rules over the phone to get your clearance, and lights, because we have a separate frequency to activate the airport lights at night, and things of that nature. So, and there's a pilot report by Reading, 500 feet, issued an hour and a half ago. It was a good one. It looks like a corporate jet, low level wind shear 10 knots. So, something to consider when a aircraft this caliber. It looks like he reported it at 5,000 feet. So, if he's encountering a ride like that, that may indicate a not so pleasant ride for somebody flying a light Cessna Skyhawk or a Piper Cherokee. So, something to consider when you find these reports issued in the pilot report section. So, then on Preflight, there's a nice pack feature, which is this icon right here, which I only use personally if I filed an instrument flight plan. This way all my information is fresh, and the iPad has been downloaded with absolutely everything legal for the flight. Fresh charts, taxi diagrams, things like that, which I'll cover on a different video. So, and that is pretty much how you get a weather briefing via an electronic flight bag. Again, full disclaimer, this is my way of getting a weather briefing on the electronic flight bag. Your way may be different. For any suggestions, I recommend comments in the comments section. This is how I go about getting all my information for planning the flights in place with my EFB. So that's that version. We're going to talk about the old school way of getting weather. So I still enforce this with guys on flight reviews and students who I teach for private pilot ratings fresh from scratch, because it's kind of become a lost practice. We become so dependent on EFBs that every once in a while you'll hear a story about a pilot forgetting to check a temporary flight restriction someplace. I had a case 4 years ago. It was a flight review client of mine who I didn't know this until after the flight review, but he had busted a TFR at his departure point because he went flying to his favorite lunch place in the summertime here in New Jersey, and he didn't enable the TFR feature in his EFB, and he had the same EFB I have, and he took off and got a visit from some folks in uniform, which wasn't a pleasant ordeal. So now to actually get the weather via flight service, it's a toll-free number. It's 1-800-WX-BRIEF. It's free. And back in the good old days of flying, the FAA had several flight service stations scattered around the region. Northeast Philadelphia had one. Millville, New Jersey had one. Matter of fact, Millville to this day, which is a common cross-country for students out of the Trenton area, old school CFIs would take students there because besides the amenities, you used to be able to tour the flight service station when you went there. You got your weather in person, and off you went. Teterboro had one too. If you want to watch something cool, look up ABC of Our World of Flying on YouTube. I believe it's video issue 6, 7, or 8. I can't remember. But there's a video of Phil Boyer, the former AOPA president, exploring the Teterboro flight service, or flight service station. So it existed. So I'm going to get a scratch pad available because you want something to write with when you do this. And this is flight service via the phone. So this is a good old way of getting weather. And this entails talking to an actual flight service briefer. So they're going to give you the same thing I just got here on my EFB, only an actual human gives it to you from a computer here. So we're going to pull out something to write on, because sometimes they are fast. And if you don't have something to write on, you can use your iPad, which has scratch pads and whatnot, to accomplish all this. So we'll just use Yeah, we'll just use a plain scratch pad. Again, the craft scratch pads we use a copy an IFR clearance, but this is good for the occasion. So we're going to pretend that we're going from Robbinsville to Reading via, in that aircraft I placed in there, I believe I have 61763 or 2242 uniform. I'll just for either example today, so we'll go ahead and give them a call. Put on speaker so you can hear.
Welcome to Leidos Flight Service.
Briefer.
Please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. If you have an in-flight emergency, press 9. Otherwise, please wait while we look up your 1-800-WX-BRIEF.
Now that's a new feature. They didn't have that before.
The phone number you're calling from is not linked to a website account. To receive expedited service and access to enhanced capabilities, please enter the 10-digit primary phone number associated with your website account, or press the pound key if you don't have an account. Sorry, the phone number you entered is not linked to a website account. To receive expedited service and access to enhanced capabilities, please go to 1-800-WXBrief.com and create an account today, or provide your email address to one of our specialists. Having a website account will avoid this message in the future. Press 1 to get help identifying your account, or press 2 to continue.
That's also a new feature.
Press or speak your response at any time. You can press 1 or say briefer, press 5 or say special announcement. What state are you departing from
New Jersey.
or calling about? What state are you departing from or calling about?
New Jersey.
You may enter. Please wait while I connect you with a flight briefer.
Leidos Flight Service, sir, can I help you?
Afternoon, Leidos. This is number 61763. I'm a Cessna 172 planning a VFR flight from Robbinsville, New Jersey. That's November 87. Going VFR today to Romeo Delta Golf. Going to be aloft for 40 minutes. Cruising at about 4,500 feet. Looking for a standard VFR briefing, please.
And departing what time?
5 minutes.
Okay. And you said what kind of aircraft was that?
Cessna 172.
Okay, we're between Trent, Robbinsville, and Reading. We show a low pressure, generally speaking, coming up towards the area. A huge, wide, low pressure area stretching from Washington, Tennessee, Kentucky out to the East Coast right now, moving northeast very, very slowly. Charts are showing blue to front, south of you, right now through Virginia, moving northeast towards the northeast. Pretty closely spaced isobars pressure gradients on the weather chart across Pennsylvania and New Jersey, indicative some turbulence and some stronger winds in that area. Airmints include airmints for IFR conditions en route. Sea levels could be below 1,000 feet, and visibility is below 3 miles, precipitation or mist. Conditions continue beyond 5 p.m. through 11 p.m. Airment for moderate turbulence below flight level 180 across the route also. Conditions may continue through 11 p.m. And then just west of Trent area is close to the coastline actually, is a advisory for sustained surface winds in that area. Greater than 30 knots expected. Conditions continue beyond 5 p.m. with that airment. Airment en route for low-level wind shear covers Jersey, all of Pennsylvania, and Virginia, Maryland area. Low-level wind shear is expected. Conditions continue beyond 5 p.m. through 11 p.m. And the final airment is for icing conditions, forecasted moderate icing between the freeze level and flight level 250 today. Freeze level should be above you though, between 8,000 to around 13,000 feet. Conditions may continue through 11 p.m. Well, the route of flight looks like they're just sticking as VFR to Marshall, VFR to course. Rain showers, I do see an edge of rain showers from Millville through just south of Philadelphia International, Philly to just about, actually a little bit west of Reading. And they're kind of rotating, moving towards the northwest around the outside edge of that, up over that low pressure area. Actual conditions I've got would be Trenton, surface wind 100 at 12, gust 21, and this Billy currently has 10 miles. Ceiling 3,100, overcast. Temperature 140.08. 3, dew point 08, altimeter 2969. The peak wind gust last hour was 06027 knots. En route, it's pretty much partial VFR en route with a couple stations that are VFR. Initially there at, say, Trent Mercer, they're showing bases to be 3,100 overcast at 10 mile visibility, like I mentioned. And then to your south in Philadelphia, northeast, same bases, 3,100 overcast. 10 mile visibility with light rain, gust as high as 31 knots from the east. And Enbridge Airport, their bases are a little bit lower, 2,300 overcast, 10 mile visibility. They've got gusty winds likewise in the ground. Their gust as high as about 20 knots from the east. And in around Reading, see down Lancaster areas, raining there, rain down, light rain. It's VFR, but I just technically have to say VFR flight now recommended in actual park conditions.
I would assume, yeah.
So, but it is VFR, basically VFR, just very strong winds. I don't have any fire reports, which is a little funny, but there aren't a lot of light aircraft flying right now, seems to me. Let me see about over the Harrisburg area. Now, I was going to say Harrisburg International, there's one pilot report to northwest of Harrisburg International. Cheyenne aircrafts at bases are 1,000 feet. This ability was a mile and a half, is that. In the northeast of Trent, we had one report 15 southwest of LaGuardia, about the closest fire to Trent. And it was during descent in Airbus. The basis of the broken layer was 3,500 feet. Topside layer 4,400 feet, used on the ILS approach. Didn't say anything about Brian though. But my guess is it would be. Let me see about forecast for you. The forecast for Trenton now, that says from now until 2 o'clock, 18Z. Wind 08 is 0 at 12, gust to 20. Visibility is greater than 6. Ceilings 3,500 overcast. Occasional ceilings could be down as low as 2,000 broken and 3,500 overcast. After 2 p.m. until 6 p.m., if you're to leave a little bit later, wind 100 at 15, gust 25. Showers, rain showers vicinity, ceilings 2,000 overcast. Visibility more than 6. And for Reading is forecast from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Wind 080 at 15, gust 25. Visibility is greater than 6. Rain showers vicinity. Ceilings 1,500 overcast. And the winds will get a little stronger after 5 to 9 gusts near almost 30 knots.
Yeah, see.
5. And be a fast trip over. You should have some tailwind, but any winds of 3,000 feet are forecasted to be 110 knots. At 4,500 feet, 125 at 28 knots. And Wilkes-Barre, 100 degrees, 30 knots at 3. 4,500 feet, 120 at 33 knots. And south of course, Westminster, Maryland, close to the Maryland border there, 3,110 to 60 knots, 60 knots. 4,500 feet, 130 at 64 knots.
Wow.
Yeah, I did see a radar down here at Sterling next to Dulles. They had winds over 50 knots a little while ago on the Doppler radar, I could see. And looking again right now on the Doppler there, and say at 1,000 feet, they're southeast at 15. They're at 25 knots southeast at 2,000. 3,000 southeast at 35. 4,000 southeast at 40. Same thing for 5. And then for above 5,000 is 50 knots from the south. It goes to 60 knots up near, say, 9,000. And they're, Fort Dix is close to you. Let me see how Fort Dix is showing for their actual winds on the Doppler. Fort report deck shows winds down lower at 1, 2, and 3,000 are off from the east. About 090, about 30 to 35 knots. And 4,000 feet, it becomes more southeasterly winds at 30 knots. Between 4 and 5, still southeast at about, looks like 30 knots. And it slowly turns southerly up 6, 7, 8,000 south from this due south at about 30, 35 knots or so. But seems like a good setup for turbulence for me. I just can't back it up with the pilot reports, but yeah, the airman said that there's going to be some, and can I check the notice for you for both airports?
Oh, not this time.
Okay. That is so good, and then if you do decide to go, or when you do decide, I appreciate a power up if you pass one along to us.
Sure. If we decide to go, we'll call and check on the items. It looks like a pretty good day to stay on the ground here and light a fire in the house or something. Drink pumpkin spice coffee.
There you go. I like that idea myself. But we appreciate the call, though. Anyhow.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Yep, be back. We'll see you.
All right, so that is weather forecast via our flight service station by the phone. So to hash out here what he mentioned. So you always want to have a scratch pad of some sort available to write on. You probably can't understand what I wrote, but I was able to get an idea what he was spitting out at me. And something I want to point out, if you're a student pilot learning how to utilize this, an instructor has you utilizing flight service weather over the phone, don't be afraid to tell them you're a student pilot. I'll tell you a secret. Once in a while, they speak so fast, I have to tell them I'm a student pilot also, because we're all still learning, right? So don't be afraid to tell them you're a student pilot. So, have them write out details step by step. As you can see, this briefer was pretty patient. He wrote out, he explained all of his details step by step. It took a while, and that's okay. So as you can see, today's a pretty kind of messy day to fly, Lots of turbulence, high strong winds, rain everywhere. Probably not necessarily the best of days to fly a trainer plane. If you're in a jet or something that can take it and you got to go somewhere, you may be able to do with it. So that's something to consider with a day like that today. So that is how to go about getting a weather briefing via an EFB, and also on the use of flight service here over the phone. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If there's something you guys want to see specifically, leave us a comment on the comment section on YouTube. Write to me on the pages I just mentioned in the introduction video. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody. Be safe and be healthy.